The rain hammered the Brooklyn Bridge like fists on a coffin lid, and Thomas leaped before the scream could escape his throat. Cold water swallowed him whole, the East River's grip a black promise of silence, pulling him under where the city's lights blurred into forgotten stars. But then, strong arms, a desperate gasp, and a voice like thunder. "Not today, kid. You're not done yet." Thomas coughed up the Hudson's murky revenge, his body a lead weight on the splintered dock where Hunter had dragged him. The night air bit into his soaked skin, but it was nothing compared to the fire in his lungs or the stranger's eyes, hazel, fierce, locking onto his like they could rewrite the ending. "Who the hell are you?" Thomas rasped, shivering not just from the chill. The man, tall, broad-shouldered, with a jawline carved from some Midwestern granite and a leather jacket slick with rain, knelt beside him, one hand steady on Thomas's chest as if checking for a pulse that might still betray him. "Name's Hunter. And you? You're the idiot who just tried to audition for the Fishes." His voice was gravel wrapped in velvet, pure American heartland drawl cutting through the distant wail of sirens. Hunter's lips quirked, but his gaze didn't waver. It pinned Thomas there, alive against his will. Thomas wanted to shove him away, to dive back into the void where his father's slurs and his mother's silence couldn't follow. But Hunter's touch grounded him, warm and unyielding, like the first real anchor in a storm-tossed life. "Why?" Thomas managed, his voice cracking like thin ice. "Why bother?" Hunter's laugh was low, almost bitter, as he shrugged off his jacket and draped it over Thomas's shoulders. It smelled of pine smoke and worn denim, a scent that whispered of open roads and forgotten diners. "Because I've been where you are, standing on that edge, and someone pulled me back once. Figured it was my turn to play hero." He extended a calloused hand, not demanding, just offering. "Come on, let's get you dry before you turn into a popsicle." Thomas stared at that hand, scarred from God knows what labors, fingers long and steady, and something in him fractured, not broke, but shifted. He took it, letting Hunter haul him up, the world tilting back into focus under the bridge's sodium glow. They stumbled toward Hunter's beat-up Ford pickup, parked crookedly on the access road, its bed littered with fishing gear and crumpled fast food bags, a testament to a life lived on the move. Inside the cab, the heater blasted like a desert wind, and Hunter cranked up the radio to some classic rock station crooning Springsteen. Born to Run filled the space between them, lyrics about thunder roads and no surrender hitting too close to home. Thomas huddled into the jacket, stealing glances at his rescuer. Hunter was older, maybe 35, with laugh lines etching his temples and a tattoo peeking from his shirt collar. A faded eagle, wings spread in defiant flight. Everything about him screamed freedom, the kind Thomas had chased from his suffocating Ohio suburb to New York, only to find it slipping through his fingers like subway tokens. "You got a name? Or should I just call you Bridge Jumper?" Hunter asked, navigating the slick streets toward his place in Red Hook, the warehouse district where artists and dockworkers coexisted in gritty harmony. "Thomas," he muttered, wiping river water from his eyes. "Thomas Hale, and thanks, I guess." Hunter nodded, eyes on the road. "Thomas, solid name, means twin, right? Like you've got a shadow self screaming to get out." He paused, drummed his fingers on the wheel. "What pushed you over tonight? Job? The usual New York bullshit." Thomas's throat tightened. The usual. Yeah, that summed it up. His job as a barista at that overpriced Williamsburg cafe paid the rent on his shoebox apartment. But it was the text from his sister that had unraveled him. "Dad's dying. Wants to see you. Says he's sorry." Sorry for what? For the bruises after he found the rainbow pin in Thomas's drawer at 16? For shipping him off to straighten out at that conversion camp where prayers felt like chains? Thomas had run to the city dreaming of reinvention. But the ghosts followed, whispering he wasn't worth saving. "Family," he said finally, the word tasting like ash. "The kind that makes you wonder if drowning's kinder." Hunter's jaw clenched, a muscle ticking under the stubble. "Yeah, I get that. Mine's scattered like buckshot across Kansas. Dad was a rancher, mean as a rattlesnake when the whiskey hit. Mom, she tried, But love's a fragile thing in tornado country. He pulled into a gravel lot beside a converted loft, the building's brick facade tagged with murals of abstract waves and defiant fists. "This is me. Crash here tonight. Couch is yours." Inside, the space was a chaotic symphony of reclaimed wood and exposed beams, bookshelves sagging under dog-eared paperbacks. Kerouac, Baldwin, some dog-eared Bible with margins full of furious underlines. A guitar leaned against the wall, strings humming faintly in the draft. Hunter tossed Thomas a towel and a pair of sweatpants that hung loose on his slimmer frame. "Showers down the hall. I'll make coffee. Black? Or with enough sugar to rot your teeth?" Thomas emerged scrubbed raw, steam curling around him like tentative fingers, to find Hunter at the kitchen island, 2 mugs steaming. The older man had changed into a faded USMCT, the sleeves stretched over biceps honed by more than just manual labor. "Black," Thomas said, sliding onto a stool. Their knees brushed under the counter, an accidental spark that made Thomas's pulse stutter. They talked, or rather, Hunter talked, spinning yarns of his post-army days drifting from Seattle's fog to Nashville's neon, chasing gigs as a session musician and odd jobs that paid in stories more than dollars. Thomas listened, mesmerized, the words weaving a safety net around the raw edges of his soul. For the first time in months, the silence in his chest felt less like a void and more like space to breathe. By dawn, as the sun gilded the harbor view from Hunter's window, Thomas realized he hadn't thought of the bridge once. "You always this good at distractions?" he asked, half teasing, half awed. Hunter's smile was slow, sunrise warm. "Only for the ones worth saving." His hand covered Thomas's on the mug, thumb tracing a gentle circle. Not pushing, just there, a question wrapped in possibility. And in that touch, Thomas felt the first fragile bloom of something dangerous. Hope. The weeks blurred into a rhythm Thomas hadn't known he craved. Hunter's loft became his harbor, the couch evolving into shared mornings over greasy diners and evenings strumming chords on that old guitar. Hunter taught him the basics, fingers calloused from frets, not just triggers, his patience a quiet revelation. "Music's like love," Hunter said one night, their shoulders touching on the fire escape, city lights twinkling like errant fireflies. "You gotta feel it in your bones. Let it ache a little." Thomas soaked it up, his own voice emerging tentative, then bold, in duets that echoed off the warehouse walls. He opened up in fragments, the suffocating pews of his Baptist upbringing, the first fumbling kiss behind the high school bleachers that tasted of fear and freedom, the parade in Manhattan where he'd marched alone, rainbow flag clutched like a shield. Hunter listened without judgment, his story's counterpoint. Boots in Iraqi sand, the brotherhood of foxholes where secrets bonded deeper than blood, the discharge papers that tasted of betrayal when his CO turned a blind eye to the whispers. "You're brave as hell, Tom," Hunter murmured one rain-lashed afternoon, as they huddled under a shared blanket on the couch, a forgotten movie flickering. The nickname slipped out easy, intimate, and Thomas's heart tripped over it. Brave? He who had jumped. But in Hunter's eyes, he saw himself reflected whole, not shattered. Their first kiss happened unscripted, in the fluorescent hum of a laundromat on Atlantic Avenue. Quarters scattered like confetti as Hunter pulled him close, the dryer's rumble masking the hitch in Thomas's breath. It was soft at first, exploratory, lips brushing like hesitant confessions. Then deeper, Hunter's hand cradling his jaw as if Thomas were porcelain. No rush, no demand. Just the slow unraveling of walls built from too many lonely nights. After walking home hand in hand through the drizzle, Hunter squeezed his fingers. "This okay? Us?" Thomas laughed, a sound light as summer air. "More than okay. Everything." Love settled over them like Brooklyn fog, thick, enveloping, hiding the sharper edges. Hunter's Marine buddies crashed the loft for barbecues on the roof, grilling ribs and trading war stories laced with backslaps that skirted too close to Thomas's insecurities. "Hunter here's gone soft," one ribbed, a burly vet named Jax with a prosthetic leg and a grin like a grenade, trading foxholes for poetry slams. But their nods to Thomas held respect, a quiet acceptance that chipped at his doubts. Thomas landed a gig at a queer open mic in Bushwick. His songs raw with the ache of bridges crossed and almost jumped. Hunter sat front row every night, hazel eyes shining like beacons, whooping louder than the drag queens in the crowd. "That's my guy," he'd say afterward, pulling Thomas into a hug that smelled of beer and pride. Yet, fissures whispered in the quiet hours. Hunter's phone buzzed late with calls he silenced, his gaze drifting to the eagle tattoo when Thomas asked about the war's ghosts. "Old wounds," he'd deflect, kissing Thomas's temple. "Nothing a good night's sleep won't fix." Thomas let it slide, too afraid to shatter the fragile idol, until the letter arrived, slipped under the door like a serpent's tongue. Kansas return address, his sister's handwriting shaky. "Dad's gone. Funeral's Saturday. He left a letter for you. Come home. Home." The word curdled in Thomas's mouth. He crumpled it, but Hunter found the pieces, piecing them together with hands that trembled. "You gotta go," he said softly, no question in it. "Closure's a bitch, but it's yours." The drive to Ohio was a gauntlet of cornfields and billboards preaching salvation. Hunter's truck eating miles while Thomas stared at the dashboard, gut churning. They arrived at dusk to the Hale family farm, sagging under years of neglect, the porch light a feeble halo. His sister, Emily, hugged him fierce, her eyes red-rimmed. "He waited for you, Tom. Said he was wrong." The funeral was a blur of casseroles and condolences, hymns that clawed at Thomas's throat. In the church basement, amid folding chairs and coffee urns, his father's letter waited sealed, scrawled to my son. Thomas's hands shook as he broke the wax, words blurring. "I was scared, boy, scared of losing you to a world I didn't understand. But I see now you're stronger than I ever was. Forgive me if you can. Love, Dad." Tears hit the paper, smudging ink. Hunter stood sentinel outside, chain smoking under the steeple, his presence a bulwark against the stares from aunts who whispered about that phase. That night, in the guest room of his childhood home, walls still papered with faded baseball heroes, Thomas broke. Sobs racked him, grief and rage and a love too late blooming. Hunter held him through it, whispering nonsense about stars over Baghdad and how forgiveness wasn't for the dead, but for the living. On the drive back, dawn painting the highway gold, Thomas turned to him. "I love you, you know that?" Hunter's grip tightened on the wheel, smile tight. "Yeah, kid. I know." But back in Brooklyn, the buzz returned, Hunter's phone lighting up with a name Thomas didn't recognize. Mags. Late nights at gigs that stretched till morning. Hunter stumbling in with whiskey breath and excuses thin as fog. Thomas swallowed the jealousy, chalking it to stress. Hunter had taken leave from his construction foreman job to support him through the funeral, bills piling like unspoken accusations. Then came the night of the storm, thunder rattling the loft's windows like divine wrath. Thomas woke to Hunter pacing, phone clutched white-knuckled. "What the hell, Mags? You can't just..." He froze as Thomas sat up, sheets pooling around him. "Who's Mags?" Hunter's face crumpled, a dam breaking. "My wife," he whispered, the word a gunshot in the dim light. "Ex-wife. Or, shit, it's complicated." The room spun. Wife. The man who'd pulled him from the river, who'd kissed him under laundromat lights, who'd held him through grief. Married? Thomas's voice was ice. "Complicated how? You forget to mention the ring when you were playing house with me?" Hunter sank to the bed, head in hands. "We split 2 years ago. She's in Kansas, fighting me for the house, the dog, everything. The calls. They're about the divorce. Lawyers. I didn't want to drag you into my mess." "Liar." Thomas's chest heaved, betrayal blooming hot and vicious. "You told me you were free, drifting, no ties." The eagle tattoo mocked him now, wings clipped by secrets. "I am free," Hunter pleaded, reaching out. "With you, I'm free." Mags was duty, family pressure. "The war fucked me up, Tom. She was the anchor I clung to till I drowned us both." Thomas recoiled, the touch burning. "And I was what? Your rebound? Your little city experiment." Memories flashed. Rooftop barbecues, open mics, that first kiss. Twisted now into deception. He'd trusted. Open scars he'd thought healed. Only to find Hunter's own wounds festering, hidden. The fight spilled into the hall, voices rising over the gale. "I saved you," Hunter roared, desperation cracking his drawl. "From the river, from yourself." "You didn't save me," Thomas shouted back, tears scalding. "You just delayed the fall." He grabbed his jacket, the one that still smelled of pine, and stormed into the night, rain lashing like judgment. The city swallowed him again, subways rattling him to a bench in Prospect Park, where he curled against the storm, sobs mingling with the downpour. Betrayal wasn't a wound. It was a vivisection, layers peeled back to expose the fool beneath. Hunter's texts lit his phone. "Please, talk to me. I love you. But each was a barb twisting deeper. Days bled into a haze of double shifts and dive bars. Thomas crashing on Emily's couch in Jersey till she pried the story loose. "Sounds like he was scared too," she said gently, braiding his hair like when they were kids. "But that don't make it right." He nodded, but the ache festered. Pride weekend approached, rainbows unfurling across the boroughs like defiant banners. But Thomas skipped the march. Instead, he wandered the High Line, elevated tracks turned garden path, wildflowers nodding in sympathy. There, amid the hum of tourists and the distant pulse of the city, he penned a song, not of loss but reclamation. Eagle's Shadow, verses weaving bridges and betrayals into a melody that soared, unbroken. Word spread through the queer grapevine. The Bushwick mic owner booked him for a solo set. Hunter showed, of course he did, slipping in back like a ghost, eyes hollowed by nights without sleep. Thomas spotted him mid-chorus, voice steady despite the quake in his chest. The song ended to thunderous applause, but Hunter lingered, approaching slow as a penitent. "I'm sorry," he said, voice rough, "for the lies, the half-truths. I thought hiding it protected us. But I was wrong. You deserved all of me, messy as I am." Thomas studied him, the stubble thicker, the eagle tattoo stark against a fresh bruise from some bar fight. "You did save me, Hunter, that night on the bridge. But love isn't a rescue. It's a mirror. And yours was cracked." Hunter nodded, swallowing hard. "Can we try again? Slower this time. Honest." The temptation clawed, those hazel eyes, that drawl promising home. But Thomas saw clearer now. Healing wasn't clinging to anchors that rusted. It was learning to swim. "No," he said softly, "not cruel, just true. Not like this. Go fix your divorce, your ghost. Find your freedom without borrowing mine." Hunter's shoulders sagged, but a sad smile ghosted his lips. "Fair enough, Tom. But you'll always be my bridge. The one I couldn't cross alone." He walked away then, into the crowd's swirl, leaving Thomas with the echo of guitar strings and a heart lighter, scarred but his own. Months unfurled like pages in a well-worn journal. Thomas's songs caught fire. Eagle's Shadow went viral on some indie playlist, pulling gigs from coffee houses to festivals in the Catskills. He moved into a sunlit studio in Bed-Stuy, walls papered with set lists and Polaroids of Emily's kids, his nieces giggling at Uncle Tom's Rainbow House. Therapy became ritual, unpacking the farm boy's baggage till it fit lighter in his carry-on soul. Hunter's shadow lingered in fragments. A postcard from Nashville, scrawled divorce final. Gigging again. Miss your voice. Thomas pinned it up, not as tether, but talisman. Forgiveness bloomed slow, not for Hunter's sake, but his own. A quiet absolution under Ohio stars he'd never fear again. One crisp autumn eve, as leaves carpeted the park like confetti from a mended heart, Thomas spotted him across the meadow. Hunter, busking with that guitar. A crowd swaying to a Springsteen cover. Their eyes met, a nod exchanged. No words needed, just the arc of paths diverged yet parallel. Thomas turned toward home, the city humming his anthem. He jumped once, been pulled back, shattered and rebuilt. Now he ran not from but toward the life he'd always been twinned to, whole, unapologetic, free. In the end, Saving wasn't another's gift. It was the grace to let go, and the courage to fly solo into the dawn. The rain hadn't stopped by morning, a relentless sheet turning Red Hook streets into mirror-slick rivers. Thomas woke to the patter on Hunter's skylight, disoriented in the tangle of borrowed sheets. The older man's arm slung heavy across his waist. Panic flickered. Had he really spilled his guts to a stranger? But Hunter stirred, mumbling something about coffee and second chances, his warmth chasing the chill. Breakfast. Hunter yawned, rolling out of bed in boxers that hugged his runner's build, tattoos mapping stories across his back. The eagle on his shoulder, a compass rose low on his hip. Thomas averted his eyes, heat creeping up his neck, but followed to the kitchen where Hunter cracked eggs with one-handed flair, humming an off-key tune that might have been Dylan. Over plates of scrambled mess and toast charred at the edges, conversation flowed easier than the night before. Hunter shared scraps of his life. Born in a Dust Bowl town outside Wichita, enlisting at 18 to escape the plow, shipping out to Fallujah where sandstorms blurred friend from foe. War's a thief, he said, fork pausing midair. Steals your soft spots, leaves you hollowed out. Thomas nodded, poking at his food. His own thefts were subtler. Childhood Sundays, force-fed sermons on sin, the day his dad found his journal with its coded crushes on the quarterback. Hollow's right. Came to New York thinking it'd fill me up. Big Apple, big dreams, right? But it's just louder emptiness. Hunter's gaze softened, seeing past the sarcasm. New York's got bite, but it's honest. Unlike home, where smiles hide pitchforks. He reached across the table, hesitating before squeezing Thomas's wrist. Stick around today. Show you the real city, not the tourist traps. They ventured out bundled against the drizzle, Hunter's arm brushing Thomas's as they dodged puddles toward the ferry terminal. The East River commute was a revelation. Statue of Liberty looming like a green promise, Manhattan's spires piercing the clouds. On the deck, wind whipping their hoods, Hunter leaned close to shout over the horn. See that? Lady L's got our backs. Torch for the lost ones. Thomas shivered, not from cold. No one had ever framed the icons like lifelines before. At Wall Street, they wandered the canyon of glass towers, Hunter pointing out the bull statue where tourists rubbed its horns for luck. Me? I'd rather pet a real one back home. Less bullshit. Lunch was halal cart lamb over rice, scarfed on a bench in Battery Park, gulls wheeling overhead. Thomas found himself laughing, genuine, belly deep, at Hunter's tale of a marine prank involving a commander's toupee and a sand dune. You, prankster, thought you were all stoic hero. Hunter winked, rice grain stuck to his lip. Heroes got layers, kid. Peel 'em back. Find the fool underneath. Afternoon blurred into exploration. Subway hops to the village, where Hunter dragged him into a vinyl shop stacked with crates of forgotten soul records. He unearthed a pristine copy of What's Going On, spinning it on the shop's turntable till Marvin Gaye's plea filled the air. Mercy, mercy me. Hunter sang low, off-key harmony pulling Thomas in. Their hands brushed over the sleeve, lingering, a spark in the analog glow. By evening, fatigue settled like a shared secret, and they collapsed on Hunter's couch, pizza boxes as fortifications. The TV droned some cop show, but neither watched. Instead, Hunter cracked open a six-pack, passing a can with a clink. To not jumping, he toasted, eyes crinkling. To anchors, Thomas countered, clinking back. The beer was cold, bittersweet, loosening tongues. He confessed the camp, nights of group prayers and exercises that left him bruised in spirit if not body. Hunter's face darkened, fist clenching around his can. Bastards, oughta be horsewhipped. Then softer, you're out now. That's the win. Hunter's turn came haltingly. The discharge, honorable on paper but shadowed by rumors. Too close with his squad leader, whispers that ended in psych evals and a one-way ticket stateside. Lost my unit, my purpose. Drifted east thinking the river could wash it clean. His voice trailed, eyes on the harbor lights. Till last night. Thomas's heart thudded. Till me. Yeah. Hunter turned, cupping Thomas's face, thumb tracing his cheekbone. The kiss was inevitable, beer-tinged and tender, Hunter's stubble a rasp against smooth skin. It deepened slow, exploratory, hands mapping shoulders and waists with reverence, not conquest. When they broke, foreheads pressed, Hunter whispered, "This real for you? Realer than I've known," Thomas breathed, the admission a key turning in a long-locked door. That night, they slept entwined, Hunter's heartbeat a steady drum under Thomas's ear. Dawn brought no regrets, just the quiet certainty that some rescues were mutual. Life wove them tighter in the following days. Thomas returned to his shift at the cafe, steaming lattes for hipsters who tipped in crypto promises. But now he texted Hunter mid-rush. "Miss your bad eggs." Replies pinged back. "Burnt toast incoming." Gig tonight? Hunter's construction site was a scaffold jungle in Dumbo, where he foremaned a crew rehabbing a pre-war warehouse into condos for the 1%. "Buildin' dreams for folks who don't need 'em," he'd gripe. But his pride shone when showing Thomas blueprints, fingers tracing load-bearing walls like veins. Evenings were theirs. Potluck suppers with Hunter's vet circle, where Jax and the others folded Thomas in with roasts about his soft city hands. Karaoke at a dive-off Myrtle, Hunter belting Johnny Cash till the mic cord tangled, Thomas harmonizing shyly on Ring of Fire. And always, the music, Hunter's guitar lessons evolving into jam sessions, Thomas's fingers blistering on strings, but his voice gaining wings. One sticky July night, as fireflies danced over the Gowanus, they picnicked on a pier, blankets spread with bodega subs and stolen bodega beers. Hunter pulled out a ring, not diamond, but a simple silver band etched with coordinates. 40.7033 degrees north, 73.9352 degrees west. Brooklyn's heart. "Not proposing," he clarified, sliding it onto Thomas's pinky. "Just marking the spot where I found mine." Thomas's throat closed, the metal cool against fevered skin. "Love you," he said, the words tumbling free, unprompted. Hunter's grin split wide. "Right back at ya, songbird." But love's honeymoon waned under summer's glare. Hunter's shifts stretched, overtime pay padding the rent but thinning their hours. Texts went unanswered during site emergencies. And Thomas caught the faint perfume on collars. Floral, not Hunter's pine. "Client dinner," he'd explain, but his eyes skated away. Thomas buried doubt in busyness. A poetry slam when netting him a chapbook deal. Readings where crowds hung on his bridge metaphor like gospel. Emily visited, her Midwest frankness slicing through. "He's solid, but watch those eyes, Tom. Secrets hide there." He waved it off, but the seed sprouted. Then, the letter from home, Dad's cancer, stage 4, the farm a hospice of beeping monitors and morphine drips. Thomas's world tilted. Grief a preview in every mirror. Hunter canceled a weekend trip to the Finger Lakes, holding vigil instead. His strength a crutch Thomas leaned on till it creaked. The funeral call came mid-August, a harvest moon rising blood-red over Ohio. They packed the truck in silence, Hunter's hand on Thomas's knee the whole 1,000-mile haul. The service was sparse. Neighbors in John Deere caps, hymns that choked like thistle. Dad's casket gleamed under fluorescent piety, but the letter inside, read by lamplight in the attic room, cracked Thomas open. Apologies for the camp, the slurs, a plea for the son he'd failed. Hunter waited in the truck, engine idling like a getaway car. When Thomas emerged, hollow-eyed, he pulled him into the cab, holding tight as sobs shook them both. "He saw you at the end," Hunter murmured. "That's grace." Back in the city, the rhythm faltered. Hunter dove into work, vanishing into scaffolds dawn to dusk, while Thomas haunted mics, songs turning maudlin with loss. The phone buzzes multiplied. Mags, always mags. Hunter silencing them with a curse. Bullshit, he'd snap, but Thomas glimpsed the screen once. "We need to talk. The papers aren't final." "Wife," the word lodged like shrapnel. Confrontation brewed, but love deferred it, till the storm broke. Thunder cracked the sky like a whip on that September eve, the loft shuddering under the onslaught. Thomas had prepped dinner. spaghetti from a kit, candles flickering defiance against the blackout threat. But Hunter was late. Again. The clock ticked past 10 when the door banged open. Hunter drenched, eyes wild. Sight flooded. He panted, stripping his shirt to reveal water-slicked ink. Whole foundation at risk. Thomas nodded, plating food. But the air hummed wrong. Over bites, Hunter's phone vibrated, Mags, and he flipped it face down. Too quick. Everything okay? Thomas ventured, fork hovering. Fine. Just loose ends. Hunter's smile was strained. Pasta twirled forgotten. The dam cracked then, words spilling hot. Loose ends like a wife? Saw the name Hunter. How long you gonna dance around it? Hunter froze, fork clattering. Color drained from his face. Confession rushing out. Margaret, high school sweetheart turned war bride. The divorce filed but mired in Kansas courts over assets. Alimony fights that bled him dry. I didn't lie about us ending, he insisted, hands gesticulating wild. But the mess. I wanted you clean of it. Clean. Thomas's laugh was bitter, chair scraping back. You think love's a vacuum? I bared my soul. The jump, the camp, Dad's letter, and you hoarded this? What am I, your escape hatch? Hunter stood, closing the gap, hands on Thomas's arms. You're my everything. This city's my fresh start, you my reason. Mags is past tense. Past tense calls at midnight? Thomas shoved free, chest heaving. I trusted you. After the river, the songs, the ring on my finger. Was it all a script? Marine plays savior to the broken queer kid. The accusation landed like a gut punch. Hunter reeled, hazel eyes storm-dark. I saved you because I saw me in you, lost, fighting shadows. And yeah, maybe I was selfish, keeping my baggage off stage. But I love you, Tom. Raw, real. Love doesn't hide. Thomas grabbed his keys. The door slamming echo in the thunder. Streets blurred in sheets of rain. Cab to Emily's a blur of sodium lights and regret. She opened the door in curlers, pulling him into tea and tissues. Men, she sighed, always packing secrets like carry-ons. Days stretched into radio silence. Thomas crashing on her pullout. Shifts at the cafe a numb autopilot. Songs poured out furious. Anchors lie, verses carving betrayal into melody. Hunter's texts barraged. Let me explain. Coffee? Please. He ignored them, but Pride weekend loomed. Rainbows a reminder of joys tainted. The March day dawned crisp. Fifth Avenue a river of color. Drag queens on stilts, couples hand in hand. Chance of love is love pulsing like heartbeat. Thomas walked alone. Sign reading bridges burned. But I still cross. The crowd surged, but midway he spotted Hunter at the sidelines. Sign of his own. I'm sorry. Let me cross with you. Their eyes locked, the world narrowing. Thomas approached slow, pulse thundering louder than drums. What now? He asked, voice steady despite the quake. Hunter's face was gaunt, stubble silvered. Truth, all of it. Mags and I. We married young, post-deployment. She wanted the picket fence, I wanted absolution. It crumbled when she found letters from my squad days. She thought it betrayal. I thought it survival. He swallowed. Divorce drags because she's punishing me. But I'm done hiding. Filed counters last week. It's over. Thomas searched his face, seeing the boy from Kansas, scarred but sincere. And us? Hunter's hand extended, palm up. If you'll have me, no more shadows. The temptation warred. Pull him close or walk on. Thomas took the hand, not squeezing, just holding. Slow, he said, like learning guitar, one chord at a time. Hunter's relief was an exhale, pulling him into the march. They walked side by side, fingers laced. The crowd's roar a baptism. That night, back at the loft, Thomas's things migrated gradual. They talked till dawn, unpacking crates of history. Hunter's letters burned in a desert fire pit. Thomas's journal entries read aloud like exorcism. Rebuilding was tentative. Date nights at Coney Island, cotton candy kisses under the cyclone. Hunter attending therapy with a grizzled vet counselor. emerging quieter but clearer. Thomas's chapbook launched to acclaim. Readings where Hunter front row cheered. That's my bridge, whispered proud. Winter blanketed the city in hush, snow muffling the harbor. On Christmas Eve, Hunter strung lights along the beams. A tree scavenged from the lot, ornaments of dog tags and subway tokens. Under it, he knelt, not with ring but a key, to a plot in Prospect, soil turned for spring planting. Roots, he said. Ours. Thomas pulled him up, kissing snowmelt from lashes. Home. But spring unearthed thorns. Mags arrived unannounced, Kansas plates in the lot, her knock a thunderclap. Blonde, sharp-featured, eyes like Hunter's but colder. We need to talk, she said, bypassing Thomas with a glance that dismissed. Alone. Inside, voices rose. Assets. The dog she'd taken. Accusations of Hunter's city distractions, poisoning the well. Thomas hovered in the kitchen, eavesdropping fragments. You left me for him? After everything? Hunter's reply, I left for me. And yeah, for him. Because he sees the man I want to be. Mags stormed out, papers and signed, but the visit lingered like smoke. Thomas confronted it head-on. She coming back? Hunter sighed, pulling him close. Hoping not. But if she does, we face it together. Trust rebuilt, brick by honest brick. Summer festivals called. Thomas headlining a pride stage in the park, Hunter's bass thumping backup, their harmony a testament. Emily visited with the kids. Barbecues where Hunter flipped burgers with Uncle Flair. Her approval stamped in a hug. He's a keeper, little bro. Yet, autumn winds carried whispers. Hunter's gigs pulled him to Jersey spots. Nights away that echoed old patterns. Thomas tamped jealousy, but one call, Mag's emergency, sent him spiraling. He tailed the truck to a motel off I-95, heart in throat, peering through rain-streaked windows to see. Hunter alone on the phone, voice breaking. I can't. Mags. It's done. Move on. Relief flooded, but so did shame. Back home, confession spilled. I followed you. Didn't trust. Hunter's hurt flickered, then softened. Fair. After my bullshit. They vowed transparency. Shared calendars, no silence calls. A pact sealed in laughter over bad takeout. By year's end, as fireworks burst over the bridge, that same span of near death, Thomas stood with Hunter, arms wrapped against the chill. We made it, he murmured. Hunter kissed his temple. Yeah, and we're just getting started. The new year dawned with a vengeance. Resolutions scribbled on napkins over hangover mimosas. Hunter to finish the divorce clean. Thomas to tour his chapbook south. But February's frost bit deep. Mags's lawyer emailed amendments, demanding half Hunter's pension, citing emotional infidelity. Court dates loomed in Wichita, a summons that yanked Hunter west for weeks. Go, Thomas urged, packing his duffel with pressed shirts and protein bars. End it proper. I'll hold the fort. Hunter's goodbye at JFK was airport cliché. Deep kiss, promise of calls. A silver chain slipped around Thomas's neck. Compass pendant, coordinates to the loft. North Star, he winked, boarding with a wave that twisted Thomas's gut. Solitude echoed hollow. Thomas filled it with work. Cafe shifts swapped for songwriting retreats in the Pine Barrens. Verses of longing amid pine-scented hush. Calls came sporadic. Court's a circus. Miss you. Texts with selfies. Hunter in a motel mirror, towel-turbaned, captioned handsome? We're just homesick. Thomas replied heart emojis, but doubt nod. Emily's check-ins turned probing. He sounding solid? A Pride Pod podcast episode on second chances, hit too close. Host warning of patterns in savior complexes. Mid-March, Hunter returned, thinner, triumphant, papers stamped final. The loft reunion was fire. Takeout tie? Bodies rediscovering rhythms. Hunter's tattoos a map Thomas traced with lips. Free, he growled, sealing it with a bite. All yours. Relief was heady, but the afterglow faded under unpacking. Mags's parting shot. A letter slipped into Hunter's bag, which he read aloud, voice steady. You chose him over family. Hope he's worth the ruin. Thomas bristled. Ruin? This is life, not wreckage. Hunter crumpled it, tossing to the bin. Forget her. We're building. Build they did. Hunter promoted to site manager. Bonus buying weekend getaways to the Cape, where dunes whispered secrets and waves washed doubts clean. Thomas's tour dates stacked. Atlanta's Queer Lit Fest. New Orleans jazz-infused readings. Hunter tagging along when scaffolds allowed. His presence a bass line to Thomas's treble. But summer storms brewed. Jax's wedding in Philly pulled Hunter for bachelor debauchery, returning with a shiner and slurred tales of strip clubs. No touching, Scout's honor. Thomas laughed it off, but the perfume lingered. Faint jasmine that wasn't bar smoke. Confrontation simmered till a gig clash. Thomas's album release party at a packed Bushwick Hall. Hunter a no-show. Texts bounced unread. Panic clawed as hours ticked. He arrived at 2 a.m., reeking of bourbon, eyes red. Car trouble, he mumbled, collapsing on the couch. Bullshit. Thomas's voice cracked. Jax texted party ended at 11. Where? Hunter's facade crumbled, confession spilling. Mags, crashing the wedding uninvited, tears and pleas for reconciliation. I drove her to a motel, Tom, talked her down, nothing more. But she kissed me. I pulled away, but the guilt. Guilt. Thomas recoiled, the chain suddenly choking. Or temptation. After everything, the courts, the promises. It was pity, Hunter pleaded on knees now. Old habits. But you're mine now. Thomas fled to the fire escape, city lights blurring through tears. Pity. The word poisoned the well. Had their love been Hunter's penance, Thomas his confessor? Dawn found him packing a bag. Note left. Need space. Trust's fragile. Don't follow. He crashed at a friend's in Crown Heights. A sublet with leaky faucets and thin walls. But solitude's bomb. Songs birthed from ache. Compass cracked. Pouring into late-night demos. Emily flew in, dragging him to therapy, where the shrink unpacked codependency. Saving each other? Noble till it blinds. Hunter respected the boundary, cards arriving weekly. Postcards from construction sites, sketches of guitars with notes strummed for me? No please, just presence in ink. Fall foliage turned the park to flame. Thomas busking their one crisp noon, voice carrying Eagle's shadow redux. A shadow fell, Hunter, guitar case in hand, nodding permission. He sat cross-legged, joining harmony unasked, their voices weaving like old lovers. The crowd grew, coins clinking, but it was for them. Apology in arpeggios, forgiveness in falsetto. After, under a sycamore shedding gold, Thomas spoke. I get it now, the pull of past, but we can't keep circling. Hunter nodded, eyes clear. Therapy's kicking my ass. Learning to stand solo. He offered the guitar. Duet? Or solo run? Thomas took it, strumming tentative. Duet, but eyes open. Winter healed in layers. Shared holidays with Emily's clan. Hanukkah lights mingling with Christmas boughs in a hybrid glow. Hunter's surprise. A studio session booked. Producer a vet from his unit. Tracks laid raw and real. Thomas's gift. A tattoo. Small bridge on his wrist. Inked beside Hunter's eagle. Spring bloom tentative. Mags a ghost banished by time. A climax crested in June. A call from Jax. Hunter in the ER. Scaffold collapse. Ribs cracked. Leg pinned. Thomas raced to Bellevue. Heart in throat. Finding him bandaged. Grinning through morphine haze. Told ya I fall hard. Laughter broke the fear. Vigil held in beeping quiet. Recovery was grueling. Physical therapy where Thomas played chauffeur, nurse, cheerleader. Hunter's vulnerability cracked him open. Tears over lost mobility. Confessions of war fear resurfacing in pain. Scared I'll drag you down. He admitted one rainy rehab wait. Thomas cupped his face. We're anchors, not weights. Together. Discharge brought them home stronger. Hunter's limp a badge. Thomas's songs a salve. Pride that year they marched arm in arm, sign, bridges rebuilt. The crowd cheered. but their glance was the roar. Yet, summer's heat tested anew. Hunter's ex-unit planned a reunion in D.C., invite laced with old flames subtext. "Go," Thomas said, masking unease. "Honor the bonds." He returned changed, lighter, tales of closure with squad ghosts. But a photo on Jax's feed, Hunter, arm around a familiar face from letters past. Caption, "Brothers in arms, always." Jealousy flared, confrontation electric. Brothers? Or more? Hunter sighed, showing deleted texts. "Miss the old days, man. But I'm all in here." Proof, but the scar itched. "Forgive the vigilance," Thomas apologized later, over rooftop stargazing. "Old wounds." Hunter pulled him close. "Earn it every day." They did. Fall tours synced. Thomas opening for folk acts. Hunter Rodianji with bass in tow. Emily's wedding to her longtime, Thomas best man. Hunter groomsman in a blur of toasts and two-step. Vows echoed their own unspoken. In shadows and light. Winter solstice brought proposal, not grand, but true. Hunter. Knee in snow-dusted park. Ring simple gold. Partners? In every storm. Thomas, tears freezing, yes. But fate's twist. Spring unearthed Mags's final gambit. Pregnancy claim. From a last night pre-divorce. Tests proved false. But the scare ravaged. Trust fracturing like ice. Hunter raged at her lawyer, Thomas at the what-ifs. "Could have been tied forever," he whispered. "But wasn't," Hunter countered, holding fierce. "Choose us, daily." They did, therapy tandem now, rebuilding on bedrock. Climax crashed Labor Day, Hunter's promotion party, warehouse bash with crew in Queens. Mags crashed, drunk, seen ugly. Accusations hurled, glass shattered. Thomas intervened, voice steel. "Leave. He's mine." She fled, sirens wailing her exit. Aftermath. Hunter broken, sobbing in Thomas's arms. Toxic. All of it. "Healing starts now," Thomas vowed. "Let go." They did, Hunter cutting ties final. Thomas channeling pain into album Letting Go, tracks of release. Ending bloomed humanistic. A year on, wedding small in the park, Emily officiating, Jax toasting to second acts. Vows. "I thought you saved me, till we saved each other." No perfection, just promise. Love as mirror reflecting growth. The wedding's afterglow lingered like champagne fizz, but reality's undertow pulled swift. Honeymoon in the Smokies was idle. Cabins with porch swings, hikes where handholds spoke volumes. But back in Brooklyn, bills loomed, Hunter's limp aching in humidity. Thomas's tour schedule clashing with site deadlines. They navigated with humor. Grocery runs turning dance-offs in aisles. Hunter's twangy Cotton Eye Joe clashing with Thomas's hip-hop sway. But fissures showed. Hunter snapping over misplaced keys. Thomas withdrawing into lyric pads when stress crested. Fall brought harvest of joys. Album drop to reviews hailing raw humanism. A track our bridge climbing charts. Hunter's crew gifted a custom guitar. Eagle inlaid on the body. Pride in their union shown at panels. Thomas speaking on queer resilience. Hunter adding gravel-throated asides on found family. Yet Winter's grip tightened. Dad's farm sold. Emily's call. Proceeds split. Thomas's share a down payment seed. Roots. Hunter teased, but his eyes held Kansas longing. A pull Thomas sensed in midnight mutterings. Confrontation brewed over Thanksgiving turkey. Emily's table groaning. "Miss the plains sometimes," Hunter admitted, pie midway. Space to breathe. Thomas's fork paused. "Here feels small." Hunter backpedaled. "Nah, it's us. Perfect." But the seed rooted. Spring tours pulled Thomas south. Nashville dates where Hunter joined. But his old haunts stirred ghosts. Ex-gigs, Mags's shadow in every honky-tonk. A call from her. Suicide scare, hospital hold. Yanked him away mid-show. He returned shattered. Tried to help, but it's her mess. Thomas held him through night terrors, but resentment simmered. Our life interrupted. Again. Hunter nodded, guilt etching deeper. Therapy unpacked it. Codependency's echo, Hunter's savior syndrome clashing with Thomas's boundaries. Summer solstice, they retreated to the Cape. Dunes their confessional. Let her go full, Thomas urged, sand between toes. For us. Hunter did, blocked numbers. Letters burned in beach fire. Release was palpable, his laugh freer. But climax loomed insidious. Jax's diagnosis? Cancer aggressive, pulling the unit east for vigils. Hunter drove hours, returning hollowed. Stories of bedside regrets. Life's short, he said one dawn, packing again. Gotta make it count. Thomas nodded, but fear gnawed. Would Hunter's loyalty fracture their dam? The night Jax slipped away, Hunter didn't come home, crashing at the hospital. Thomas waited alone, dawn's light mocking. Return was raw. Hunter, eyes swollen, collapsing into embrace. Can't lose you too. You won't, Thomas vowed, but the scare lingered. Fall's equinox brought renewal. Thomas's TEDx talk on love after betrayal. Hunter in wings, pride swelling. They adopted a rescue mutt, Max, furred chaos teaching patience. Winter's eve under strung lights, Hunter knelt anew. Not proposal, but pact. Therapy vows. Weekly together. Thomas laughed, pulling up. Deal. Spring bloomed collaborative. Co-write sessions birthing healing hands. Album fusing folk rock heart. Tours synced, stages shared. Crowds chanting their story. Yet, betrayal's echo resounded subtle. A fan letter to Hunter, old flame's confession, forwarded innocent. Thomas's jealousy flared brief, quelled by talk. Past's echo, present's song. They harmonized through summer festivals electric with their spark. Climax crested unbidden. Mags's final act, letter postmarked regret. Forgive my chaos. Found peace in AA. Wish you joy. Hunter read it aloud. Tears cathartic. Closed. Thomas hugged tight. Free. Ending humanistic unfolded gradual. Years weaving tapestry. Adoptions talked. Farmette dreamed in upstate green. Pride marches led hand in hand. Signs love let's go. No fairy dust, just grit and grace. Love as verb, healing as horizon. Decades distilled in moments. Max's passing, buried under the sycamore. Emily's twins calling Hunter Uncle Hunt, twang lessons in the loft. Thomas's Pulitzer nod for memoir River's echo, Hunter's forward. He saved me first. Betrayals faded to footnotes, conflicts to character. They aged, Hunter's hair silver-streaked, limp a sway. Thomas's eyes lined with laugh crows. Climax revisited gentle. Kansas call, Hunter's mom frail, inviting the family. They drove plains roads, hands laced, farmstead welcoming tentative. Stories swapped over pie, mom's hug ceiling. Knew you were whole when you left. Return east, Hunter lighter, roots honored not chained. Ending, golden autumn, bridge walk, that span. Grandkids in tow, surrogate joys, tales of jumps turned flights. I thought you saved me, Thomas murmured, wind whisper soft. Hunter grinned, arm around. We saved us. Humanity in release, love eternal in letting go.